Learners, I welcome you all in our today's offline video lecture of class 11th Information Practices, and the topic is language translators. This is a very important topic from the examination point of view of 11th class, and the language translators include assemblers, compilers and interpreters. This topic is presented to you by Ankur Pandita, BHSS Dragmulla. Now, what are these language translators? Any program that is not written in machine language has to be translated in machine language before it is executed by the computer. This means the means used for translation are themselves computer programs. There are three types of translator programs: assemblers, compilers and interpreters. So students, computer only understand machine language. ये बात आपको पता है कि कंप्यूटर्स सिर्फ मशीन लैंग्वेज को ही अंडरस्टैंड कर पाते हैं। तो जो भी प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज हमारी मशीन लैंग्वेज में नहीं लिखी जाती, उसको कंप्यूटर को अंडरस्टैंड करने के लिए उसको मशीन लैंग्वेज में ट्रांसलेट करना पड़ता है। और जो ये ट्रांसलेट करने वाले वो भी सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोग्राम्स होते हैं, और वो तीन प्रकार के होते हैं: असेंबलर्स, कंपाइलर्स और इंटरप्रेटर। स्टूडेंट्स, मैं फिर से रिपीट करता हूँ कि जो भी प्रोग्राम मशीन लैंग्वेज में नहीं लिखा जाता, उसको कंप्यूटर को अंडरस्टैंड कराने के लिए मशीन लैंग्वेज में ट्रांसलेट करना पड़ता है, और उसको ट्रांसलेट करने के लिए हमें लैंग्वेज ट्रांसलेटर्स का काम लेते हैं हम। और लैंग्वेज ट्रांसलेटर जो होते हैं वो खुद ही एक सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोग्राम्स होते हैं, और वो तीन तरह के होते हैं: असेंबलर्स, compilers or interpreters. So students, computer only understands machine language, and any computer language other than machine language needs to be translated into machine language through these language translators. And we have three common types of language translators, and these are assemblers, compilers and interpreters. Now we understand them one by one. First is assembler, then is compiler, and third is interpreter. So what is assembler? Assembler converts assembly language into machine code, machine language. So what is the function of assembler? Assembler converts assembly language into machine language. It translates mnemonic operation codes to their machine language. Assembly language consists of various mnemonics, and the assembler, which is a translator, translates these mnemonics operation codes into machine language. It assigns machine address to symbolic labels. Now, any program written in whatever language has a source code. So assembler converts those source code in assembly process and then converts it into a machine executable code, that is in the machine language. Assembler directives. The assembler can also process assembler directives. Assembler directives provide information to the assembler itself. They are not translated into machine instructions. Assembly language consists of an assembly program and also assembler directives which enables those programs to function. These assembler directives are not converted into machine language, and only the mnemonics, which are the part of the machine assembly language, are converted into machine language. Second in the line is compiler. We have three language translators. First is assembler, second is compiler, and third is interpreter. So what is the function of what is compiler? A compiler is a computer program that transforms source code written in programming language into another computer language. So, what is compiler? Compiler is a language translator that converts entire source code into another computer language, preferably the machine language which the computer understands. Compiler, what is the function of compiler? It checks syntax of programs. It checks at a time all the program. It checks all the program at a time. The compiler, the main function of compiler, it checks at a time. It checks all the syntax of the program at a time and converts the source code into other language. primary reason for compiling source code is to create an executable program. It creates an executable program from the source code. It translates entire program at a time. Examples of compiler based languages are C, C++, Java. These C, C++, Java needs to be compiled compiled before they are executed by the computer. So they need to be compiled and converted into an executable code before they are used by the computer or understood by the computer. High-level languages such as C, C++, and Java compilers are employed. Java compilers are employed for high-level languages like C, C++, and Java. The compiler displays the list of errors and warnings for the statements violating the syntax rules of the language. When you write any program in these high-level languages, and when you compile these programs, the compiler gives you a list of all errors of all program and gives us the option to correct those errors. Compilers also has the ability of linking subroutines of the program. Some of the examples of compiler: Microsoft Visual Studio, BlueJ, Quincy 2005. These are some of the examples of compiler. So compiler converts entire source code into an executable code. It displays all errors and gives us the chance to rectify the errors before these are executed by the machine, that's computer. What jobs of compiler? To translate HLL, that is high level programming language source program, into machine codes. It translates high level languages into machine codes. It traces variables in the program, to include linkage for subroutines, to allocate memory for storage of programs and variables. It also allocates memory for storage of programs and variables. It generates error machines if there are errors in the program. It also enables us to generate errors and gives us the chance to rectify these errors before these are executed by the computer. And third in the line is interpreter. What is interpreter? A computer program that executes instructions written in a programming language and does not produce the executable file. Interpreter checks the keywords of a program, takes one instruction at a time and converts into machine language before taking up the next instruction. Interpreter is also a language translator that translates source code into an executable code. But the main difference between the compiler and interpreter: compiler translates entire program at a time, but the interpreter checks keywords one by one instruction at a time, and checks its errors, and after rectifying the errors it goes to the next line. So the main difference between compiler translates entire program at a time, but interpreter does it from one instructions. It takes only one instruction at a time. Examples of interpreter are PHP, JavaScript, Basic. These are examples of interpreter languages. Advantage of interpreter: good at locating errors in programs. Since it takes only one instruction at a time, so they are good at locating errors in programs. Debugging is easier since the interpreter stops when it encounters an error. Since it translates instructions at a time, one instruction at a time, so when an error encounters, the interpreter stops and we can rectify the error and debug it easily. If an error is detected, there is no need to retranslate the whole program. So since it converts instruction by instruction, so when an error is located in one instructions, there is no need to retranslate the whole program. Disadvantage of interpreter: it is slow, no object code is produced, so a translation has to be done every time the program is running. For the program to run, the interpreter must be present. Difference between compiler and interpreter: we have seen in so many years this question keeps on repeating in our examination, so I thought of giving this difference between compiler and interpreter. It is the most important question and have been repeated a number of times in your annual examinations. The difference between compiler and interpreter: compiler converts whole code at a time, but the interpreter converts code line by line. This is the main difference between compiler and interpreter. Compiler converts whole code at a time, but the interpreter converts code line by line. Compiler, it is faster, interpreter is slower. Compiler requires more memory, interpreter requires less memory. Compiler, errors are displayed after entire program is checked. Interpreter, errors are displayed for every instruction. Compiler examples are C, C++, Java. Interpreter examples are GW Basic, Ruby, Python. These are interpreter languages. And this is it from today's topic of language translators, namely assemblers, compilers, and interpreters. Students, I expect you to thoroughly revise this topic. We are coming more we are daily updating more and more topics, offline topics, so that you can understand and you complete your syllabus. Students, stay at home, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you.